Mr. Speaker, during the years I've been here, I've never spoken on a Martin Luther King Day. And today's different, because of tomorrow. You know, there's an old adage, Mr. Speaker, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, on November 4th, 2008, it was the people of a certain age that were suddenly on a new learning curve. I was one of those people. There was older folks in my community who were crying like babies. You know, I arrived in the house. When I got here, I was 32 years old. I'm 56 now. My two sons are 25 and 21. When I got here, just to let you know how things have changed, no blacks had ever sat on the Appropriations Committee in the history of this body. It took the Black Caucus to threaten to withhold votes on the speakership vote. We had a Democratic speaker then, Mr. Speaker, to get the first blacks on the Appropriations Committee. Until last year, there had only been one black on the Senate Finance Committee in the history of the Senate. Blacks were not allowed to carry major legislation, and I'm not talking about the 1950s now, 60s or 70s. This was 86, 87, 88. They were not allowed to carry major legislation. It was a big deal when Billy Robertson, and many of you remember him, a very able legislator, it was a big deal when he was appointed to a committee of conference, because no black had ever been appointed to a committee of conference. Now we routinely let freshmen do it. We weren't even allowed on the committee of conference on our own bills. You think about how ridiculous that sounds now. It wasn't that long ago. Now, many of you, I suspect, in this body didn't even know this stuff was going on. You know, it was sort of going under the radar. Nobody said anything, and it was just happening. That is the reason that many African Americans, because so many things go under the radar, often view life through the prism of race. And it's an additional weight that's better carried by some than others. And I ask the majority of my colleagues here, how often have you asked yourself, did this happen to me because I'm white? I suspect rarely, if ever, have you ever asked yourself that question. But it's a routine question that's asked by African Americans. But that's life in America. And that's also why this election is so off the charts, significant and important to me and many people of my generation and older, but apparently no big deal for my kids and their friends. On election night, I'm sitting there boo-hooing with my wife, my brother, his wife, and my kids, their friends, are sitting there laughing at us. You know, they said, "Why are you crying?" They asked, the kids asked. He was ahead in the polls. He was the best candidate, and he was supposed to win, they said. My brother said, "Well, I just feared they'd take it away," he explained. And their response, that is my kids' response, was, "Who? Who's going to take it away?" And at that moment, it became clear to me that things have indeed changed in America. My brother and I were looking for ghosts. My kids, as it's become apparent, are now more grounded in today's reality. Tomorrow, the promise of America will have a different meaning for me and many others. I've always felt that I loved America more than America loved me. And it often caused resentment because there was never a full buy-in to the promise of America and all that entailed. Access, I felt, was limited. But tomorrow, what happens? The president-elect will become the commander-in-chief, arguably the most powerful man in the world. He can end wars. He can spend $1 trillion. He's got the keys to Air Force One. And a woman of color is about to become the first lady. And more importantly, apparently 2/3 of America is all right with that. They like the idea of that. You know, that changes the way we look at each other. I'm thrilled that I got to see this in my lifetime. Because at 56, I can finally say that there are no limitations on what can be accomplished in the United States. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to say that is so huge. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.